got out of the military, went to get my master's in exercise physiology, went back to Baylor, training under a juggernaut in the field. His name's Dr. Darren Willoughby. I was going to be his PhD student. That was what my goal was. And we sat down in his office and all this stuff a long time. And he's like, what do you want to do, really? I was like, well, this, what I believe in the tenets of what we know to be, something that can be utilized to actually improve quality of life. He said, well, it sounds like you really want to be more boots on the ground applying. And that's more in the world of medicine. I'm already older than most. I didn't realize, I had that old misconception that you're supposed to be like a 20-year-old going to med school. You're not some older guy. And they're like, no. He encouraged me to just at least try. Applied to med school, got into med school. And what I learned in medicine, which is just so disheartening, is I spent 4 years in medical school, 3 years as a resident of internal medicine. And I swear to God, I probably could summarize everything we learned about exercise, nutrition, and lifestyle modification in like a day.
Connect with us on the Emotion Wellness Podcast for a transformative journey of human connection. Witness personal stories, improve your mental health education, and acquire valuable resources for optimizing your well-being. And visit emotionwellness.com for more information.
Welcome to the Emotional Wellness Podcast. My name is Jason, and again, I get to be here with my boy, Jamie Corliss.
Very grateful to be here.
Vying for Frank's job, so Frank better watch out. He'll be back in the rotation soon, so those of you that have missed. Today we're with one of our amazing, incredible partners, friends, human beings, Mr. Edwin Davilla, and
Hello.
he is a internal medicine physician and a good friend and just an amazing human being. So we are going to get to chat with him about who he is, what is he doing with emotion, and there'll be a whole series with Doc around all the things doctor stuff. So
Doctor stuff with the way that it's supposed to be. So,
And my favorite thing, he's an exercise scientist.
I'm an exercise scientist before I'm a doctor. And I think that's actually what brought me into being a doctor. In fact, I can tell you exactly why, and we'll get to that. It's actually the reason why I'm a doctor.
well, tell us why.
Cool. Appreciate you guys. So, bumper sticker. Started out in South Texas, just I was a farm boy. And if you'll know anything about South Texas, we have a huge population of equal parts hardworking individuals and individuals who suffer from chronic metabolic disease. So I was around this forever, and it becomes a norm, right? Well, went to Baylor, got my bachelor's in biology there, went into the military, and I spent 5 years as an officer in the Navy. Well, I say that because that was the first time in which an impact of what somebody does in their life and the misconception of medicine could derail somebody forever. I was stationed at Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, and I was working with an airman who she got deployed there, but what we didn't know was she'd already failed of her fit rep or fitness exam before she got there twice. And in the military, 3 strikes, you're out. So her command back where she was at center on her deployment, knowing that she needed to have another fitness test in like 2 months, and basically dumped it on this command to be like, oh, I guess you're going to have to do the out processing.
That never happens.
No shit. And before that, and I'd already been at that command for about 6 months or so. I already got known for being the exercise guy, me and another individual. And the commander was like pissed as hell, but it's, you know what, can you guys stop what you're doing? I want you to work with her, I was like, okay. And I spoke to her, and sure enough, she had been seen by doctors in the past, and they said, oh, do this, do that, never got any results, never talked about anything specific exercise-wise, never talked about anything dietary or supplemental-wise. It was always generic, just run-of-the-mill, cookie-cutter stuff. And surprise, she keeps failing. She keeps having problems. So we create something much more in line, much more detailed, really broke her down. Not only in that span of 2 months did she pass, she crushed any test she had ever done before in her life. So she was just enthralled. So in that moment, we did something, and not saying to pat ourselves on the back, but we as a team, the patient, she wasn't a patient yet, the person, me, and another individual, utilizing actual dedicated exercise science, did something that clinicians and other individuals said, oh, no, that doesn't matter. That's not going to work. So got out of the military, we used the GI Bill, went to get my master's in exercise physiology, went back to Baylor, training under a juggernaut in the field. His name is Dr. Darren Willoughby. The man has known more about exercise science than I think that I'll probably forget. And he's forgotten more than I know, is what I should have said. And I was going to be his PhD student. That was what my goal was. And we sat down in his office and all this stuff a long time. And he's like, "What do you want to do, really?" I was like, "Well, this, what I believe in the tenets of what we know to be, something that can be utilized to actually improve quality of life. This." He's like, "Well, sounds like you really want to be more boots on the ground applying. And that's more in the world of medicine." I was like, "Well, yeah, but I'm already older than most." I didn't realize, I had that old misconception that you're supposed to be like a 20-year-old going to med school. You're not some older guy. And he's like, no. He encouraged me to at least try. Applied to med school, got into med school. And what I learned in medicine, which is just so disheartening, is I spent 4 years in medical school, 3 years as a resident of internal medicine. And I swear to God, I probably could summarize everything we learned about exercise, nutrition, and lifestyle modification in like a day.
Wow.
And if I hadn't had my year's worth of training and education and hands-on application from an exercise scientist perspective, I never would have realized that. Every other doc I know, I'm not trying to judge them, but they feel that their knowledge in health is enough because, well, wouldn't you think that if you went to med school and you did all this, that's what you're there for. You're there to learn all this. So if you didn't learn, it must not be that important. I'm like, nah, that's bullshit. That's complete bullshit. So now,
Well, and what you're talking about too, physical exercise doesn't fit the medical model. Like we're not a preventative model. We're not a health model. We're a sick care model, right? So.
yeah. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that when a person leaves the traditional training and they break into the world and things of that nature, what do? They fall into this habit of see patient, think of medicine, insert medicine here, pill, powder, injectable, whatever, rinse and repeat. And there's this misconception by so many as to, well, we don't talk about lifestyle and exercise. Why? Because the patient's not going to do it. That's that already bias that, well, what's the point? Why would I waste my time? Instead, they don't realize that it's not the patient who's not willing to do it. It's the lack of detail that they're providing or lack thereof. How is it that we are comfortable with saying all the specificity of medications, dosage, frequency, how long to take, things to work out for, how we're going to adjust it, and then all of a sudden, oh, you should probably move more. Oh, you should probably eat less. There's your prescription for lifestyle. It's generic.
Well, you and I talked a while ago too, and I remember asking you, like, why do people? Because I've done a bunch of research and reading, right? And with all of the evidence that's out there, I mean, the list is ad infinitum. I mean, of all the ways they've studied physical activity versus antidepressants and how it compares or how it affects cognition, especially in the aging population. Like it's like across every age group, it's effective. Like, you know what I mean? We think of it in terms of I can take a young person, get them moving, and I can improve their quality of life and their brain health, but it'll take an aging person and start to reverse negative symptoms. And so with all that information, you and I had a conversation a while back, and I remember asking, like, why are we not seeing more scripts? Like, why are people not prescribing more physical activity? I think two things. One, it's hard to get individuals to do it, but isn't it really the biggest issue in medicine, time?
No, 100%.
Isn't that like a doctor's? I've always thought about that as like, if you could give doctors more time, if our model allowed for less profit and more time that's like a superpower.
Oh, 100%. In order to truly be willing to get somebody to say, you know what, I believe you. I believe what you're saying. I believe that making these changes will work. I believe that if I do this, I will be better. That individual needs to, first off, believe that you care about them or believe you understand them. And to build that kind of relationship doesn't happen in 5 minutes. It doesn't happen in a quick in and out. It doesn't happen behind, as I have to look at a screen while you're over there behind the screen and I'm typing as fast as I possibly can, because if I don't do that right now, I'm going to be so far behind, I'm never going to catch up. So time is one of the most valuable things that we do not get. And it's unfortunate. So that goes back to, well, what do some physicians feel is going to be the most impactful in the small, tiny time that I have? Well, I guess I have to just go with these treatments, and I know them well. I could just throw them out there real quick and then just kind of move on. And it's based on the model. Certain models value quantity more than anything.
Yeah. That's what. Yeah, I remember that conversation. It was like, you just don't get a lot of time with somebody. And then if I got 15 minutes with you, I got and people are also, wouldn't you agree? People are coming in expecting the script.
Yeah.
Like they're coming in looking for the med versus, I actually feel like if you did this test, it'd be interesting for a doctor just to take the first 20 patients they see in a day and don't prescribe any medications. But
100%.
prescribed lifestyle changes, you'd have a bunch of pissed off people.
So it has, and that happens, but I've tested this. Go ahead.
I was going to just point out it's exactly the same thing that you talked about it a long time ago, an emotion that you see, like you're given limited time in treatment spaces for people with mental health. And there's one way that's known to treat. So everybody does that. But then all the clients are now so used to that one way that they come to emotion, and it's like, you're going to do all this hard work and you're actually going to work. And a lot of people don't want to do it, even though it's something different. And it's something that we've seen time and time again will actually make changes. But it's like, that's not what I came here expecting when I requested treatment. I thought it was going to be, I come and sit in this room for 3 hours and I get better. But
You're in the wrong program. Like you're in the wrong.
But you make a good point. And it's about framing the expectation and making the patient actually understand what is it they really wanted. And I'm not trying to say, oh, we know what you want. No, but it's them even asking the question to themselves, what is it you actually came in here for? And what do you want? And that sometimes they don't understand, but this is what I mean, is when a patient comes into my office, they don't come in here hoping, oh, I hope my blood sugar is 90 and I really hope my A1C is 6.2 and I really hope that my blood pressure is 1. No one thinks that way. They don't. So that was never their goal. What is their goal? And sometimes patients aren't ready for that question to even be asked, because what do? When you walk in, we tell you the numbers, we tell you the goal number, we give you the treatment for the number, see you later. Never asking the question, well, what did you walk in here in the first place? You didn't walk in here for a new pill. I know you didn't, because what is that pill? What is it that you want that pill to do? I mean, no one's ever asked me that. Okay, so why did you walk in here today? What are you feeling that you don't want to feel? Is it that you feel tired? Is it you feel weak? Is it that you feel scared that every time I get up, I think I'm going to fall? So now I'm afraid of the fracture that I might have, so I don't do these things. Do you even remember what it was like to not be in pain? Do you even remember what it was like to feel like you could do the day-to-day activities by yourself? Some people aren't ready for these conversations. So when you do, you say, okay, so our treatments are going to be gearing towards this goal instead of chasing these numbers. And then all of a sudden, like, oh, okay, that's different. And sometimes it takes them a little bit of time to get to buy in. But when they buy in, oh, heck yeah. Now they're like, what pill can I get rid of? That's when you know you've gotten them. And that's when you know you're making an impact, because no one's ever goal is to sound like a maraca. No one ever wants to start walking down the street rattling because they have 15 bottles in their pocket. That's never anybody's goal. Their goal is, oh, well, some doctor told me if I take this pill, this will get better. But did I care? Because I still feel terrible.
Or like I'm sore, so they say less activity. Yeah. And it's like, really, if you moved more, you'd feel better.
It's so funny you said that too, because it used to be, if you rewound about 10, not even, like maybe 15 years ago, that lower back pain, cardiovascular disease, chronic pain, anything, the treatment used to be rest. Oh, you need a rest. Now, all the governing bodies are like, yeah, we messed that up.
Really?
Oh, yeah. American College of Physicians just actually had put out a case report about how with lower back pain, #1 treatment modality, heat therapy and activity.
To get the blood flowing, right?
Heat to the affected region with either an external pad of some kind and get moving.
I think that's great. I mean, because it's coming from the powers to be. Like a good friend of mine is struggling with a family member with dementia. Remember when they first went to the doc and he knows our process pretty well. And he's like, I thought you would find this interesting. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I went and took my dad to the doc today. Guess what they prescribed for dementia?
Activity.
HIIT.
Yep.
High intensity interval training.
Yep.
For dementia. Like, that's the treatment. Like, that's, I mean, there's other stuff they were doing.
What's funny, you even said that too. Now, you know what else? We are very excited, not to be like the revolutionary fix, but actually can slow down that progression. Creatine.
Oh yeah.
Creatine monohydrate. And why is that so novel? Is because creatine monohydrate is not new. We've been dealing with that for years. HIIT training. Why is that new? And I have a belief is because all of these things, all of these training modalities, all these treatments have existed forever. But when they were spoken what? They were spoken in the world of sports science. So this must only be for the athlete, not realizing every human being is an athlete. They just all have a different sport. And, you know, just because your sport is high rocks or my sport is bodybuilding, that other person's sport is just life.
Well, it used to be life. That was the sport.
Yeah.
You know, like the way we used to live.
Yeah.
Like, you needed to be an athlete in order to survive. That's where that's what our model was born from, that evolutionary science.
Well, I think of the trend of the hybrid athlete that's risen in the past year and a half, and it's everybody talking about that's the best way to train. In my mind, it's really the way you stay healthy and have longevity, like, because you're supposed to take care of your cardiovascular health. You're supposed to take care of your strength. You're supposed to take care of your mobility. You're supposed to take care of your strength. You don't have to do it in terms of trying to be competing, but those are all things that should be on the checklist to stay healthy long term. But now there's this thing of being a hybrid athlete, and it's really just, even if you do have a specific sport, all those things are things that should be addressed.
What's funny, you say health, and that's another thing that's changed. I don't want to say changed because I feel like that should have always been, but how we approach it or define it from a patient perspective. Health used to be what? Like I just said, the numbers, the metrics, your A1C, your lipids, your cholesterol, your blood pressure. Now it's your functional capacity. Now is it what is your ability to exist every single day? What can you do? What can't you do? What were you able to do 1 year ago, 5 years ago? And have you been able to maintain that? No? Okay, well, what's the limitation? Is it cardiopulmonary? Is it musculoskeletal? Is it neurologic? Is it flexibility? Is it agility? All things that we've known in exercise science is now becoming a measurable thing in medicine. It's pretty cool.
Well, we've been really hashing out and talking about like the medical model, and we're using, I mean, it's benefiting all those things for our patient. We've adopted it as an intervention for the psychological, right? And put it into psychotherapy. And I was just thinking about our path. Like, it's like, man, how did Ed and I meet? You know, like we think about when I look at this process of building emotion, it's introduced me to so many incredible human beings. And it was all by divine inspiration. Like I didn't force any of it. Like I didn't go out and be like, I need to find a doctor with an exercise science background to be part of this thing. It was like, I'm just going to show up and do like we teach. I'm gonna show up and do the work. I showed up every day at 4:30 in the morning, got busy ripping out the equipment before the rubber floor was in and, doing all the stuff and putting the flooring and building it. And I meet this guy walking by my door, Aaron. Mm-hmm. And Aaron and I hit it off and find out he's sober, ton of years. And he's walking around the building like, because the interesting part is there was a gym in our space prior to, and they were asked to leave for whatever reason. Cool. And the little complex that we're in was under the impression that no more gyms were going to be allowed in there. And then they're like, well, how'd you get a gym in here? I'm like, well, we're not a gym. And so, I was building this thing, and it started to show me, man, I got to figure out how to talk about this thing. Cause like, we don't even, when you're so new, you're so new, you're like, what's the description? And well, I talk about what we do, but it's this thing and it's kind of like this, but it's not that. And so I was walking Aaron around and I was telling him what we do. And he's like, oh, so do you mean like you have like AA meetings in here and stuff? And I was like, well, not AA, but similar. Like we're doing group therapy. And then that's when he said, oh, dude, I've been sober, over 20 years. So we hit it off. I decided against my better judgment to start a podcast. I didn't want to do that. And then I build the studio, and Marcella starts doing her. So I basically donated the space. It was like, hey, I'm cool, Aaron. You've been giving me supplements. Like I'll hook up and help whoever they're close to you, right? So they start using the studio, and then in passing, he did an interview with them, talking on their show, and then he's like, dude, I really love what you're doing in here. And then I was like, oh, we should just hang out and talk. That's right. And then it was from there, this conversation led into like, oh damn, there's a lot of opportunity here, right? That's how it went, right?
100%.
I was there that day, and I people watch a lot, and
you were spying on me.
I was cleaning. I was cleaning the building. That was when my most important part of my job was cleaning the building. So I was walking around cleaning things, and I was like, "Who are these people?" I only know Aaron, but I remember seeing you, and I was like, "That guy's pretty jacked." I was like, I wonder what he's doing here.
The funny thing, though, is like what you guys say is so true, is when you have true passion for a topic and you're just hungry for conversation, it is remarkable what comes from it. So many opportunities of just collaboration has been purely happenstance, not because, like you said, not advertising, not hunting, not looking for opportunity, just experience and finding people who, when they talk, you're like, keep going.
Yeah,
I want to hear more of this.
For me, it's on a spiritual level of like the universe conspiring with you. It's like this conspiring of, I'm going to get behind what you're doing and what you're about, and there's only so much you can control. Like I can control, and we could even argue this, right? Like I can control when I get up, but can I control if I get to the center safely to start the day? I don't know. Like I'm doing the best I can, put my seatbelt on, but drive, you know what I mean? You can do all these things to influence the impact to get where you need to go. But my heart beats because it beats. I'm not making my heart beat, and although I might be trying to take care of it. Does it make sense?
100%.
And so I look at like, man, of purity of heart and just wanting to help people and do something so different and what I think is so good. We're just trying to be so good, right? Like we're not perfect, but we're trying to be really, really good at all of what we're bringing to the table and have accountability and authenticity. And really, when we put something on our website, we do it. You know what I mean? When we say we're going to accomplish it. And so from that, man, we've just had so many incredible interactions with people. And so really wanted some people to get to know you a little bit, your background, and then what was it about the conversation that we had, and then how have we been able to bring you into the emotion wellness fold? Like what was it that attracted you to it? And, I know that we've got a few areas we could go down. So if you're not comfortable talking about, some stuff, don't feel like you need to, but, it was really a privilege to support you and your family member. Mm-hmm. I remember you saying it, and I was like, yeah, we might not be as the first time I was like, maybe we should look at, and I just left it with you because I wanted you to be sure. And you're like, no, dude, like she needs to come to you guys. Mm-hmm. And so, if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about all of that process, and I'm sure we'll figure out other rabbit holes too.
No, absolutely. And I've gotten full permission from her. In fact, would be excited to come talk as well.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, I think she'd have a blast. So the whole exercise thing was just something that I just was beyond constantly marveled at. It was that concept of human performance. I was your typical like scrawny little runt my entire life.
For those of you who are seeing him, he's like as tall as he is wide, but he's what's even bigger is the brain between his ears. Like, this guy is like absolutely brilliant.
I was wondering what direction you were going there for a second, dude. I was like, I think this is a family podcast.
No, well, yeah. It's bad. It's terrible.
But what I'm getting at is like, I think you're a doctor, but people will look at you and there's could be judgment.
I'm
like, dude, he's absolutely like, he's got that look to him, but he's not a mouth breather by any stretch. Like,
my entire career walking through hospitals, when I go see patients, I walk in, they either think like I'm security or I'm a cop.
Yeah.
And they're like, some people are like, no, I'm just here. I'm here for you, bro. Not in that way. It's good. We're all good. I love people. But what I guess where I was going with that was that I was always just enthralled with the idea of like, what is it that makes somebody faster, stronger? Why are some people this way, some people that way? And that's what I went to Baylor for. I went to get my bachelor in biology, and I was so fixated on that. And it just kept on going and going and going. And I just, I don't know how it kept on happening, but I always would see how when one individual was suffering in some form or fashion, it was always rooted to some degree in their physical performance. It's I am sad or I'm depressed or I'm in pain, but then when you peel back, why? It's I have difficulty performing this or I'm having difficulty doing this. I used to be able to take care of my family, but now I have difficulty walking. So now this is impacting me emotionally, which is now causing me to not care about other things. And it just dominoed. So as I kind of continue to get more and more education, I started to think, how do you apply this in more and more places? And again, opportunities arose. I'm the medical advisor to the International Society of Sports Nutrition. I'm the president-elect of the Texas American College of Sports Medicine. I sit on the scientific advisory board of the National Academy of Sports Medicine. I say all of these things because every one of those areas allowed me to gain further knowledge and also find ways to create more opportunity of interacting in the way I wanted. So when we met, and I had the opportunity to hear what you all do, and I got to see what you did. It was an absolute just breath of fresh air. I remember when I was doing my master's, I had to do a project, and my project was a theoretical clinic. No shit, I'm not joking with you. That you're gonna be like, bullshit. No, it was an idea of take your traditional clinic of rooms that have people that you come in, you do your blah, 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 blah. But then in that same building, I even drew it out, had these doors that open and enter into a training facility. But the training facility was the exercise lab. So everything we talked about here, the staff on that side was the extension of treatment. Mm-hmm. If you had diabetes, hypertension, depression, osteoarthritis, didn't matter. We were going to create an exercise protocol and we would track progress, and that progress would become part of the medical record. So we'd only show not just improvement in blood pressure, yada, yada. It was also your physical performance. So when I went to go see your guys' clinic and your facility, I was like, this is what I built in my brain. And there it is in real time. And I was seeing the patients and I was seeing their interaction. I was seeing how energetic they were, how much they were getting better. And all I can think of is this looks like nothing your traditional clinical model looks like. Because when you walk into most clinics, it's not because they mean to. What's the energy inside of a clinic? It's just like...
It makes you want to run out the front door and not stay.
Exactly. So the inspiration to believe this place is a place I could become better. I can finally feel the way I want to feel. You almost have to struggle to get it. But when you walked into y'all's, it was tangible. It was almost intoxicating. It was infectious. People were all feeding off of one another.
That's what Ed said the other day, right? It was like, it was just one of our, he's interning with us right now, and he was a patient, but he's like, dude, the day I walked in, I knew I had to be here, and I hadn't even talked to anybody yet, just because of the.
Yeah, and every single day, it never fails. There are people there 1 to 2 hours early before group, just to hang out.
Yeah.
Just to be in the area. Like, I don't know a single place where that's a treatment facility for mental health and addiction that clients are there even 5 minutes of extra time than they're scheduled to be there.
100%.
Like, they do not like it. In fact, they're trying to leave 45 minutes early every single group usually.
Yep. And to kind of talk about what we kind of alluded to is even in my own life. So I have an individual, my mother, who has been a wonderful human being, has succeeded in so many things, but unfortunately over time that success became impacted by addiction. And she became addicted to alcohol to such a degree where it was taking her down a path that might not have been able to come back from. And it was very hard for her to be able to say, I am suffering from this. And thankfully, like we talked quite a bit, and I will never be able to say thank you enough for it. I opened this again, the stars aligning, powers greater than we can ever understand. I knew nobody who I could trust because how to help me down this path. As an internist, this isn't what I do all the time.
Well, and here's the thing, and I just want to add this real quick because it's so important. As soon as you said something to me, I was so excited because I'm like, oh, I can protect you from what's out there. And that is the saddest. That makes my heart hurt a lot because we have to protect people from programs.
Yeah.
Not all of them, but I'm telling you right now, there is a bunch of sharks
Oh, I'm sure.
with
Predatory, 100%.
websites and bullshit and false promises. And you're a fucking doctor. And it's like, what do I do? You know what I mean? It's like, this is one of these, this is the,
100%.
so think of like all the families out there, right? Like they're not in the medical profession. They just, I got a kid, I need help, my husband, my wife. And then where do they go? They usually ask somebody they know or they go to the internet.
Yep.
And the internet has a bunch of false promises and a bunch of shit. And so when you brought it up, I was like, okay, great. Because we know we've already vetted the good ones. We've worked with them. You know what I mean? Can kind of control, not kind of, we can control it. So anyway, I just wanted to add that.
No, that is, and you point out something so incredibly important is that even in somebody, and I think it's important that people need to have that humility that as a physician, people have this mindset about other physicians. So like, oh, he's a doctor, she's a doctor. They know everything of what I should do in the best place to get it. That is not the case at all.
Yeah.
That is very untrue. You really need to go to a subject matter expert who's experienced in a field, who knows what's going on. And collaboration is so important. There's areas of medicine that I'm still very much a novice at, but I found people I trust. And so that's where this interaction came in. I saw what you guys did. You didn't put on a face to impress one person. I just observed what you did naturally. So it was like, clearly this is an entity that to trust. So when we spoke, I was like, okay, this is who I need to talk to. And you guided me through the process of the best place to go, the best place to do. And then, funny enough, that's whenever I asked you, like, okay, so we're getting to that point where it's time for her to come. What do you think about her going to emotion? And you were like, well, that'll be interesting because my mom is a little older than most, and her physical activity had been, her functional capacity was pretty low. She was pretty deconditioned to a point where even something as simple as stepping down from a curb could have been a little concerning, stability. And the transformation is absolutely mind-shattering. Like I'd like to think that I've seen I'd like to think that I've seen a lot, but seeing her recently over the course of the last, let's call it 3-4 months, she's not the same person. And I mean that in the best of ways. She's strong, so strong. She's vibrant. She's so proud again.
Yeah.
She's so
Love that.
proud. She used to be a person who wouldn't share something like this, and now she wants people to know. Why? Because she's like, maybe I could help somebody. I'm like, yeah, you absolutely can.
Oh, for sure.
And I tell patients this, and I tell her this: a patient who has succeeded is far more powerful than any medical doctor in the world, because to a patient, whether this is true or not, sometimes there's this gap that could just be the most biggest chasm of belief. And belief, I mean, I hear this person, but they're telling me academics. They don't know me. They'll never understand my pain. They'll never understand my limits. They'll never understand what I've been through. So what they're saying, maybe that was for somebody else, but that's never going to be me. I'm never going to achieve that. But when somebody who's walked that line and who's been through that pain and been through all that says, you know what? You're going to be okay. Now, if you try and we do this, you're going to fail. You might succeed, but we can keep going. It's a real belief.
Well, and there's a level of energy with that when a prior patient's doing it or someone who's experienced it that you cannot get from, you can't reproduce unless you went through it, which is like in talking to your mom, it's hard for her to hide that excitement. So she's going to pass that on to whoever
100%.
she talks to.
She's still she's still my favorite in the process of watching, like that, the proud part that you talk about. I remember the first time trying to get her to sit on the Concept 2 bike.
Yeah.
And she was like, I don't know. I don't know how long I'm going to do that for. And I was like, I was like, we're just going to go for 5 minutes. I was like, you don't have to go fast. You don't have to do anything specific. Just pedal. I was like, and if you can't go 5 minutes, I was like, go 3 or go 4. I was like, just go as long as you can. And then it was about 3 weeks after, it was the day that she usually did her bike time, and she called me over and she was like, I went 20 minutes today. She was like, look, she was like, you said 10. I was like, dude, I was like, that is awesome. Like, from not thinking that you could even do 5 minutes to building yourself up to being able to do that. And she came in and she had an injured back. Both of her wrists were not functioning correctly. And we definitely had to get really creative with the movements we could get her to do. But she was so willing to try anything.
And that's the thing. She got to a point that she was willing to try anything. And you're her favorite, by the way. Like, I'm not trying to blow smoke up yet. No, she's like, tell Jamie I said hi. I was like, I will, I promise. And you should see her now. Like, every day, that was her calling, by the way. She calls and she's like, hey, well,
You should have picked up, dude.
I should have. And she was like, I was like, where are you going? I'm going to my swim class. And then after that, I'm going to get on the recumbent bike. And then I'm going to get on the armorgometer. I'm just like, I'm all like, my heart's singing like, she knows what an armorgometer is. Like, she knows what these machines are. She uses them. And you said something that's so powerful, is that never, I'm not trying to be flamboyant here. I've never had a patient come into my office and say, look how good my blood pressure's doing, with excitement. But I have seen people come with extreme joy and say, look how far I walked. Look how much I picked up. I was able to go to a park with my kids. I was able to get on that plane yesterday, and I put my luggage up by myself, and I went on that whole trip and no one needed me. What, in those sentences, what numbers were said? What vitals were said? Nobody cares about that. We care as physicians. We look behind the scene. We know what that means, and we're trying to optimize, sure. But to the person, that means nothing.
Absolutely.
But how they exist in the world and feeling like they're contributing again, not only to their own life, but to the lives of others around them, that is what they get excited about.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it reminds me of when clients get through their first holiday sober. Like this is after Thanksgiving, every affirmation circle was I'm a badass. I made it through Thanksgiving and I didn't drink or I didn't use. And they were so excited and so proud. And it's not that it was their 60 days or their certain amount of months. It was just, that was a day that typically in the past was really, really hard for them. And they were able to be independent, use their coping skills and get through it. It's cool. It's weird what's measurable in a person's head compared to like numbers.
100%.
Like, it definitely for me too.
Because what are we trying to achieve? And that it always brings it back to why you all were so magnetic and why I just wanted to be a part of this is our goal as clinicians, physicians, practitioners of medicine has never truly been to chase numbers. That's research, and research is cool. I love research, but it's to take somebody who is struggling in some form or fashion, who feels like, I want to be better. And that is the end goal. How you get there, that is where, your unique skills come in. And I think the problem is, to your point originally as well, is that we've fallen into this kind of dichotomy of, or just this environment where insert process here, cookie cutter. Oh, well, that's the way they did it. That's what they're going to do. That's what they're going to do, because that's the way you do it. In reality, the way we're doing obviously is not that good, because the progression of disease continues to progress. So why would we continue to do that? Why not look into areas that have shown success and adapt and apply and mold what we've seen into a whole new thing?
Well, we always talk about, and I ask people this all the time, like, what's the best therapy model?
The one they're gonna do.
It's the one they're gonna do.
100%.
It's like, what's the best exercise? What's the best diet routine? It's like, yes, there's things out there, and you can look and say evidence-based suggests, says, whatever. The truth is, if they're not gonna do it, it doesn't fucking matter.
Nope.
And so what I recognized based on my own difficulty with attention and focus, and it's like I can be really focused, but I'm really focused on the shit that interests me, and I'm not that focused on the shit that doesn't interest me, you know? And so it's like, how do we get the attention of a very large group of people? And when I looked at the evidence, I looked at my own experience, and I was kind of stumbled into this thing many years ago, about 15, up in Arizona. Lars was there.
Shout out to Lars.
It was like, well, this is the way to impact the most people, because across the board, the human species is impacted by physical activity the same. It's like it's wired into our DNA. You can't say that about SSRIs. You can't say that about certain medications. Not everybody has a different way they process. Sometimes the way that the metabolism works, sometimes it's like
100%.
So nothing on the planet has a universal impact on the human species like physical activity. So that's why we went with it. And you brought up something really interesting that I love to highlight, because I think so many people think like we're the place for people who are already fit. Like who is our place for? I'm like, it's for the one who thinks they can't do it.
Correct.
Literally.
Correct.
And the ability for us to, and now that you're on board, and we'll get a little bit into that too, like when we get particular clients with, let's just say, complex circumstances, right? We can have you take a look at them to make sure that they're not going to get hurt.
Correct.
But the ability for us to modify and create equal stimulus across an entire group of people is where the magic is, right? It's like you're going to be doing something different, and it's going to be a modified movement, but the heart rate and the stimulus and the activation is going to be equal to the guy who or girl who's doing the hardest movements in the gym, right?
Right.
Because we're bringing the person, we're bringing that stimulus to each individual, but it's coming from a group process. And you know, your mom's got more than just back pain. I mean, she's got a rod in her back.
Oh, 100%. She's had multiple surgeries in the past. I mean, she's definitely got hardware. And the fact remains, you said something very telling, important, is individuals who have succumbed to multiple disease states. They get this either one, fear from themselves, or fear from others that you cannot push yourself because it'll get worse.
Dude, that is the most. I've had it with people who break their ankles, with people who are told that they, whatever condition it is they have, like, I can't do this because of X, Y, and Z. And it's like, well, you can. I'm not going to say that right now, but I'm gonna help you see that.
But what I love about what we do is, like, people say I can't do X, Y, and Z. It's like, but can you do this?
Exactly.
And it could be it's all the way down to like just wiggle your toe. Like start somewhere, you know.
Exactly.
So.
One thing that is remarkable, and I think because it shows a much necessary transition into just a lot of areas. You made a good point, how everything is a little different. Every person's different. Well, if you look at the governing bodies of different things, like the American College of Cardiology, American College of Sports Medicine, American Diabetes Association, American College of Clinical, they're all experts in their fields, right? And they put out these governing bodies of what they recommend people to do for certain diseases. And they're all very nuanced in terms of their own unique thing. But one thing that literally put it all together on their top, you know, there's lists too of this will definitely work, this will probably work, this will definitely not work. All of them have the same number one: exercise, lifestyle, dietary, and yet their execution is poor. But this is funny is that I think it was 2023, the American College of Cardiology's journal put out a paper talking about aging and something called sarcopenia, which is the clinical manifestation of skeletal muscle mass, quality, and function loss. And what was so marvelous about it was they talked about how resistance training has been an element that we have been missing for years. But and they actually acknowledge too that they used to say, don't do resistance training, just do cardio, but don't push yourself too hard. And now they look back and like, man, we missed the mark. Not only do we still want you to do cardio, don't get it twisted. We want that cardiopulmonary fitness, but we want that skeletal muscle stimulation. We want that increased protein intake. We want to feed the machine. But to your point again, is what is stimulating your thighs by pushing large amounts of weight to the person who's starting is just being able to stand up without max assistance.
And it's finding that starting point.
Yeah.
That's where the magic is.
I have patients who, when they have that huge fear of like, where did I start? I was like, okay, it's stupid, but it's the always thing I do. Is like, do you watch television? Knowing full well everybody does. Like, oh yeah, okay, cool. Do me a favor. This is your exercise prescription. Every time there's a commercial, you're going to stand up. You're going to stand up every single time. Because when you sit down with them and you draw out a clock, 24 hours, and you make them shade in, I want you to tell me, shade in how much of that clock do you think you're sitting down? And they sit there and they think about it. And you see this aha moment, like, I spend almost 80% of my day seated down. I never stand. Well, if you don't stand, what is your leg muscle doing? Nothing. I was like, now you're scared to stand up, right? They're like, yeah. And now it's harder to stand than it was before, right? Yeah. And so that means you're standing even less because you're scared you're going to fall. Yeah. And it just keeps going into a vicious circle. So you just start where they're safe. And that's the thing that we have been doing is you find the level where they feel confident, they still feel safe, but they're going to be pushed.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's power right there.
One of the things I wanted to share with you and the rest of the people listening is that you did something in your process with your mom that not a lot of people do. So we get a lot of people who will ask a lot of questions, like, or bring like, supportive family members and people that we would call stakeholders and that kind of stuff will say, hey, what about this? And, I'm seeing this, and we'll share with them, like, this is what's happening. And, this is what we see, but then they don't do the suggested thing. They just want to ask the questions, and they take up a bunch of time of yours, which is fine. We're offering to help, but it ends up, I'm going to do what I've been doing anyway. And it's like, okay, well, if you're going to keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to keep getting what you've been getting. You called about so many different situations, and then you literally executed the thing that was discussed. And so you're a major reason for how successful your mom's treatment process was, because and I don't think people realize, like, the family and the supportive members play a huge role in the outcome based on boundaries, being able to say no, you know what I'm saying? Doing the thing. Like, I'm not being at all, I don't want to minimize that whatsoever. It is a huge piece of the puzzle for a family member to stay strong and say, I'm going to piss you off, and I'm going to suggest, and I'm not going to do this. And to have to trust not a stranger, but people who are outside your family to be like, well, this is the expert, so let me go with what they're saying. You did a marvelous job of that. And it took a lot. I mean, I appreciate the trust you had in me and the way that you executed. I mean, it cannot be overlooked. So
yeah. So I think to even show how much that is a thing, I bet 90% of people who go to treatment and go to sober living wouldn't go without the support of their family members. If they were still telling them yes, that they could stay at the house, they could do this, like, they would continue. Like, they wouldn't go. I know I wouldn't have. I wouldn't be here on this podcast right now.
The brain is so compromised that it can't make the decision that it needs to. And so really the people that are at the early stages when primal craving is still a pretty regular aspect of your daily experience, and the prefrontal cortex is coming offline on a pretty regular basis because of the primal craving. We as sufferers trying to get well need somebody to be like, no, this is what you're going to do. We need that leverage.
It's funny that this experience was like, I wasn't expecting this part to happen, but in what I do when I'm interacting with patients, and I deal with a lot of metabolic disease, right? So I deal with a lot of, diabetes, dyslipidemia, all this stuff. And I'll be sitting in rooms with patients, right? And as I see things go off the rails, I look towards the family, not in judgment, but as a conversation. And I was like, so I noticed this and this and this. What do you think is the cause of this? And it's always the same thing. Well, eventually they get honest with me. We did buy him or her this, but it's their favorite food, and they've been doing so well, and this, and this, and they start automatically on the defense. And I, as the practitioner, tell them, you have to be willing to get uncomfortable. You have to be willing for them to hate you, because what we're doing is detrimental. And it's been so easy for me to say that. until it was me.
Yeah.
And it took a little bit for me to realize that I was doing the exact same thing.
Everybody does.
And it was just, and I sat there and I was like, why? What? With my big brain and my years and years of this and that, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Because I thought and I knew at least, I knew I was helping, right? I was helping until I realized that I was doing it because the pain I felt helping was less than the pain I knew I was going to feel doing what needed to be done. And I think a little bit I was trying to, without even thinking about it, maybe running away from that pain until I realized, talking to you guys, is that if I want anything to happen, I need to be willing to accept every bit of that. And it was a whole new level. I'll be that. I've never experienced anything like that ever. But you know what? By being willing to listen, like you said, and saying, you know what? Everything I've done to this point has failed. We're going to try. The results have been wonderful. And I can't thank you all enough.
Yeah, it's dope.
Yeah.
So I encourage anybody, whatever disease state they're dealing with, especially if we're talking about addiction here, but anything, is when you know what you're doing has not been working. Maybe it's because you're afraid of what needs to be done. But know that give it a try. Be willing to say out loud, I'm gonna feel this. This is gonna be real, and I'm not gonna numb it. I have to experience it. We all have to do this.
Yeah.
And maybe, just maybe, it's going to give us the final results we've been looking for this whole time.
Well, and I think you and I got to know each other through that process. We built trust. Like that's an experience. You go through helping a family with addiction and you're the helper and you have the privilege of being in that space. It's hard not to go through a lot with them. You know what I mean? And so as a result of all that, we got closer and got to talk more. And you have this deep passion for wanting to improve the way people are treated medically and help us with how our patients are treated from a mental health standpoint. Would you just, for this last segment, highlight for the people listening, like the things that we're working on, like what you've been coming to the center we are going to be doing some modifications to the website and putting, listing you on there, and where some of this conversation will be linked to that, so we want people to get to know us more and get to know the people that work with us. But you've been really instrumental in helping us with some patients who may have not taken a chance with us because of those fears and that stuff, to be able to get in front of you as a doctor and say, yeah, you know what? I don't see any reason why you can't participate in the programming. And we're going to, you were very helpful with one patient in particular, with the style based on one of the situations that she had going on. You suggested a style of training for her that was more weight resistance versus the HIIT, and it worked out beautifully. So really grateful for you showing up, once a week to get in front of our patients, and then just really talk to me and the rest of the people listening about that, and then what we're currently working on that will hopefully be ready in January.
Yeah. So
I can hear the banging as we're talking.
Oh, absolutely. Signs of things to come. So right now, there at the center, the goal is to give people the understanding that whatever their current health status is, that they have the ability to, like we've talked about ad nauseum, the ability to feel safe and comfortable doing exercise that's going to improve. But giving them the knowledge that it's not based on just, we're just going to do the exact same thing that person did. Instead, we're going to look at your disease state, look at the medication you're taking, understand your current functional status, and from there be able to craft an evidence-based exercise prescription to be able to show, frequency, intensity, time, type, duration of treatment, volume, periodization, look into all of those areas and create something that is going to be started on and then slowly but consistently increase. And Jamie, you're instrumental in everything. Your way you've been executing is phenomenal. And what we've been able to do as a partnership, as not just me, Jamie, but everybody, but mostly me, Jamie, is
well, I'll let you guys have it. I don't really matter. So.
No, you don't. No, of course
You matter.
Of course you do. No, but Jamie's, as he's executing the training protocols, he gives feedback and very good details of like the patient said this. They noticed that they were feeling very good with this motion, but they feel, they don't look like they're doing so well when doing it. Okay. Then we modify it and we make sure that it's something that they can still continuously do. And we work to see a different training modalities that would be more effective to be able to decrease that kind of discomfort, but still move us the needle forward in terms of the goal we're trying to have. So that's one of the biggest areas that we do there. In terms of the evolution thereafter, is the bringing in additional kind of not just training, but measurable metrics, if you will. Whereas, VO2 testing, it can be of a huge benefit. Learning how to do a resting metabolic rate for patients, so we know when we want to craft a plan that not only is for their mental health, but let's say they're wanting to increase their or let's say weight management, because that we could talk about that for hours on how somebody's impact of obesity not only affects their functional status, but also their mental and emotional. So, but what people hate is cookie cutter. We want something, geared directly to them. We can measure that. Body composition analysis to be able to evaluate progression, not just in your functional assessment of what you can do, but what's changing on your body. And then additional things such as supplementation recommendations, IV management of if we find it something beneficial for the patient. Peptides are something that are evolving every single day. So we want to make sure that should that be something that patient may benefit from, is it based on evidence that we know that this person sitting in front of us will benefit from this specific plan, this specific protocol, versus just, okay, well, you're a person, just do all the other things that everybody else does.
Love it. I'm excited.
Yeah. I'm super excited for all the stuff that you're going to be helping out with the center. Am I allowed to talk about specifics about
Sure.
up there? And then I'm excited that there's going to be a place that after people finish at the center, they can continue individual treatment and still get their therapy sessions after OP, plus a membership to our mental health fitness classes in the morning, plus have a chance to meet with Dr. D, get all these measurable different things that they can see. Am I progressing here? Am I progressing there? And I don't know, there's something I know that, so I did my VO2 max testing with Dr. D, and like in my head, I was training for a competition. And I was like, oh, I'm not getting healthier and I'm not getting better. I'm not progressing. And as soon as I saw the numbers, I was like, I have been doing really well. I have been working awesome. Like, it changes the game to know with certainty that things are changing. Because it's one thing, like, you have a good workout one day, next day you don't feel good, but that's psychosomatic. It's not really, you don't know if it's true or not in the moment. And
there's a lot of good that comes from being able to do some kind of testing and give you tangible evidence to say, because like you said, am I, aren't I? How do I know? How do I measure? What's my baseline? And how do I know that I'm moving forward? I think I am, but maybe I'm not. I don't have any way to be sure. This is the way we are sure. We know you're getting stronger. We know you're getting faster. We know that you're metabolically more efficient. We know that you're gaining in the right places, losing in the right places. Your health, the way you define it, is moving in the direction that best fits your quality of life that you're moving towards, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
You got something?
No, you're going to say something.
No, go for it.
No, I was just going to say, I think about how people are always wanting to jump on the scales. Like, it's a thing that happens frequently. They start doing movement and it's like, oh, like I want to see what my weight is, without the knowledge that there's so much more to what's going on with your body than just the number of how many pounds you weigh. Like you may have only lost 1 pound, but you gained this much muscle and lost this much fat. And then you look at that number and you rule it as a loss, or that progress isn't being made. But in reality, everything changed so much in such a short amount of time. So,
and we could talk about later, this would be a fun thing to talk about, is the phenomenon of normal weight obesity. That's a fun one, because like to your point, how do we measure success sometimes? In the number lost. But we've seen now in the population of individuals who the scale has decreased, which was the goal, but they feel worse than they did before. And they're like, I thought the one equaled the next. Why do I feel bad? Not realizing that the body composition has actually gone in the wrong direction. So that's a whole nother thing.
Well, as you guys are talking, I'm sitting here thinking about how all of this information and education for the client experience, like as they're with us and they get to see, whether it be to a VO2 max test, you changed the story about your progress, right?
Yeah.
Like that was an element that helped you with story work. And story work and changing your mindset, we know, has incredible benefits for your quality of life and will improve all kinds of areas, right? So this thing that we're doing between like the testing and the education that Dr. D gives out and the experience in the gym, and when they start to get more information about their progress, the actual data, it just adds to the ability for a new narrative, which is so important for the people in our care and people in general.
100%.
You know?
hell yeah.
Well, I want to thank both of you guys, man. I've been having way too much fun the last couple of days doing these podcasts, and
Yeah.
I'm remiss that I have to actually go do some work after this. But,
Yeah, Frank, I'm coming for your spot, dude.
he's so down to share it, dude. He was like, man, that's so good for Jamie. So that's what I love about Mr. Frank. So,
Yeah, I'm kidding. I do like being on here, though. It's fun.
We'll get you on here more.
People.
well, man, thank you so much. I appreciate you as a human being, as a friend. Love what you're bringing to the table for us. It's just exciting right now. So
It's a dream, man. I really appreciate it. Both you guys.
badass.
Sweet.
If you have any questions or want any more information, you can find us at emotion.wellness.therapy on Instagram. You can also email us at info@emotionwellness.com. That email address is on our website, which is emotionwellness.com. This podcast is wherever you find podcasts, Spotify, and all the other Apple. Was it Apple?
Apple, YouTube.
Our YouTube channel. Sorry, this is usually Frank's job, so I'd be screwing it up. Sorry, Frank. But Emotion Wellness is we have our YouTube channel, and I think that's everything. Oh, emotion.wellness.podcast on Instagram as well. We'll have this episode too. So.
Thank you for connecting with us on today's episode of the Emotion Podcast, where we discuss all things mental health. Connect every week as we explore incredibly intimate stories of persistence and hope, delve into mental health education, and explore valuable resources. Available on YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And visit emotionwellness.com for more information.